People who have came close to death, what was your last thoughts? Serious? Please like and subscribe to support this channel. I was hiking along a very steep ridge with multi-100-foot drops on either side. At times it was down to about 2 feet wide. This happened on a slightly wider stretch, probably 10 feet wide. It was crazy muddy, and I was using microspikes for the first time, which made me feel like a superhero. Like I could walk up walls or something. As I was stepping downwards, all of my weight on one downhill foot, my foot suddenly slid through the front of the microspikes, and I was diving head first towards the cliff. I was bizarrely very calm and matter-of-fact about it, in a way I would never have expected. My thoughts were something like, okay, I'm diving off a cliff, this is bad. I should try to roll over on my back and try to grab a root or something. Whoops, missed that one, let's try this one. Missed that one too, this one's probably my last chance. Okay, great, caught it. Now I should pull myself back up onto the cliff. At this point, I was lying face up, my entire torso off the cliff, legs thankfully still on, and holding onto this root. I pulled myself back up, much more slowly and calmly than I should have. If the root had given way, I probably still would have died, and carried on with the hike. Didn't really sink in just how much I almost died until an hour or so later. I just remembered a second one. As I laid in my bed, with dangerously high fever, covered in gigantic, purple, oozing, infected mosquito bites, it occurred to me that I might not survive this. I had no health insurance, lived alone, and by this point the fever had me so loopy that I just figured, I guess this is how I'm going out. I don't remember a lot of what happened after that other than there being a lot of deeply upsetting fever dreams, loss of time or the feeling of time travel, and eventually waking up without a fever. The bites healed over time, but some continued to itch for 2 or 3 years afterward. It was really bizarre. I definitely should have gone to the but poverty's a bitch. Mine was that in the moment I thought I knew I was going to die, that nothing really mattered aside from my kids being taken care of. Debt, owed and owing, things I hadn't done, places I hadn't seen, none of that mattered. For that short time, it was an incredibly freeing experience, until I realized I was going to make it. Then it also slowly crept back in, the stress, the weight of it all. But I learned at that point, that really, very little in life actually matters, in a good way. I recently fell 23 feet onto rocks. I was climbing a lighthouse built in the 1700s, and was being a little more reckless than I should have when I decided to climb the staircase leading to the top. The stairs could support my weight, but the roof collapsed, dropping me down and collapsing on top of me. As the stairs detached from the ceiling, my last thought was, well, this is a stupid fucking way to die. I just felt really tired and was confused about why the doctor was yelling at me to look at him and breathe. He was just figuring out that they jabbed an artery during my hysterectomy while I was in the recovery unit post-op. Everything just felt cold and my vision was going dark, but that was because of the tremendous amount of blood I'd lost. I didn't see any bright lights or God, but I also didn't see any fire and brimstone either. ETA. Blood donation saved my life, straight up. If you can, give blood. A streetlight fell on the roof of my car after I skidded off an exit ramp and hit it head-on. I didn't realize that they are intentionally constructed to be lightweight and hollow for instances such as this. I don't run into lampposts much. My thought as I saw it slowly tilt forward until it came down on my car was literally, well, I guess I'm going to die. Then I just waited for it happen. I didn't have much time to process anything else. I was relieved when it merely dented my roof and unceremoniously rolled off my car and landed in the grass beside me. I was in a severely abusive relationship when I was 16. After a particularly nasty fight, I was sprinting down the road to get away. I heard his car very quickly approaching and something just came over me. Everything went silent. My mind was empty. I was extremely calm. I took one big sidestep and collapsed into the ditch. The car mirror must have missed me by less than an inch. The force of the air around the car caused me to lose my balance and spin a bit, landing poorly. Then I got up, ignored the twisted ankle and started sprinting again. When I thought I was about to be spattered across the pavement, I had no thoughts, just a sense of calm and peace. My first thought when I realized I would live, "You'll never touch me again, you nasty motherfucker." Attempted murder was enough for me to end the relationship permanently. I was in a car wreck where I wrapped a car around a power pole going about 90 miles per hour. The car impacted the pole from the passenger side and snapped the pole on impact, sending the car rolling numerous times, ending right side up but with the car bent in half with 4 feet of cave-in from the right-hand side. This was almost 15 years ago and I can still remember in the moment before I hit the pole. I saw the whole thing happen. The impact, the glass shattering, the airbag deploying, where my hands were still holding the steering wheel through the whole thing. Then reality snapped back into place and the event happened in real time in all of its violence. It was the most surreal experience I have ever had. Seeing it happen, then experiencing it. I left the accident with barely a scratch on me. But it still fucks me up randomly when I think about it. I've always wanted to ask other people that have survived events like this if they also sometimes think maybe they actually died, or are actually in a coma or something, where this life that has been being lived and experienced since is just a quick dream while you're unconscious, but too scared to wake into the reality that maybe they're waiting. Edit 2. Because I realized this for so many upvotes, I wanted to post a link to the Phoenix Society. They help kids go to camps to meet other children in the same circumstances and generally help burn survivors around the world. They were very supportive through my recovery. Please consider donating or supporting. I'm a 3rd degrees full depth plus 50% burn survivor. My first thought was holy shit. Then I ran around the building making sure the other tenants were out. Then a stranger handed me their phone and said they called 911. I called my dad when was traveling for work, Seattle to Georgia, and he didn't answer. I left him a voicemail from this stranger's phone telling him I loved him and mom and that I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I sat down on the curb and watched my arms bubble and everything started to fade and I felt numb. Then the ambulance rolled up. I almost drowned a few years back. I remember it vividly. I went under for what I expected to be the last time. Looking up, I could still see the late spring sun shimmering through ripply surface of the cold water as I kept sinking. I made peace with it. I asked for forgiveness to whoever was listening. I asked for guidance in whatever afterlife I was about to enter. I thought about my, now, fiancé, my family, and of how, of a way it was to die. I was always doing stupid things that could put me in harm's way. I felt peaceful, calm, relaxed, accepting of it. I knew I was about to die and it was okay. A moment later my brother had plunged into the water and managed to pull my face above as we both struggled against the cold water and our locked muscles to get to the bit of shore. I vomited violently for what felt like an eternity, when in reality it was likely no more than 10 minutes or so. I haven't felt that awful or that peaceful since, thankfully. Got COVID-19, got a turn for the worst, was going to be intubated and put on coma. Doctors did tell me I could simply not awake. I just accepted and my last thought, after saying that everything would be okay to my wife, was, death is only the next step, be it eternal dark, samsara or something else, I will simply embrace and accept it. After 11 days I woke up and I was quadriplegic, couldn't speak, couldn't breath normally, couldn't even swallow. After some time in panic, 10 seconds Jack from Lost style, I calmed down and began Kill Bill, big toe scene. Gained fingertips from hands first, then hands, arms. After 12 hours, there was a clock in the wall. I moved my right big toe. In total 11 days in coma, intubated, lost 75% lungs, 2 kidneys, gallbladder, got quadriplegic, high fever, high blood pressure, pain, brain damage, nerve damage. Recovered from everything without sequels. I still have to recover my old muscles, but I can move now, no more quadriplegic. Have to remove the gallbladder, but I can eat fat foods and everything, only real sequel. I still have high blood pressure, but every month I take less pills to control it. I wonder what it's going to feel like. I was about 6 or 7 at water safari. They have a lazy river where you sit in tubes. I was sharing one with my brother, a 2-seater one, but he wanted to lay down so he found a different one for me to sit in. It was fucking huge. I fell right though and it floated away. I was 100% sure I was going to drown, so I just accepted it and didn't try to get help. I vividly remember 2 elderly people screaming, "Oh my God," when they saw me. Lifeguard immediately jumped in and got me. My mom just so happened to be passing by as he did, so he just threw me onto her lol. Okay, this is it I guess. Death was, very quickly, just the next thing. I was fished out of the pool as a little kid after realizing I couldn't swim in the deep end and going under while clawing at the surface. I was apparently still breathing and moving and came to while the lifeguard was still bullshitting with his teenage friends. He never even alerted my parents. No disrespect to him, he was the one who got me out in time, and I thought I was gone for good. And would have been. I was in a situation where I nearly drowned. I stepped off the deep end of a pool without knowing how to navigate water. My dumbass parents thought I knew how to swim despite neither of them ever putting me in water above my knees before this. So as I fell and failed to resurface, calling out, "Help," they thought I was joking. I just about gave up trying. My arms and legs were exhausted, splashing frantically. Anyways, my thoughts were, I didn't even grow up yet, I was dumb, I sink like a lemmings, and, help, I can't swim. Had a really bad case of the flu. I was alone at home and my phone was a room away, so I couldn't get up to get it. I already nearly passed out from just sitting up. Fever of 104°F. I was coughing terribly and could barely breathe and was chain vomiting and dry heaving, terribly dehydrated but too scared to get water. I was certain I was going to die the next time I vomited. All I remember thinking was, what a lame way to die. I drifted in and out of sleep for a few hours and hallucinated my own death. Obviously, since it was a dream, I don't remember it very well. I woke up the next morning feeling pretty shitty, but not like I was about to die, so it was a win. I had a heart attack and coded twice in the catheter lab. They shocked my back to life, but I was pretty well morphined up, so I didn't even realize what happened. I just thought I was falling asleep. Later, in ICU after midnight, I was asleep. Dreaming. I was in a place that was both familiar and unknown at the same time. There was a lot of tall grass around, a pole barn full of junk, and a line of trees in the distance. The light was all orange, like sunset. Although I could not see or hear anyone, I sensed that a number of people were near me. As I focused, I could see tiny black points in front of me, and I focused really hard on one of them and I got the sense it was my grandfather. And I was really excited, because he had been dead for 35 years, and I was happy to get a chance to talk to him. Then I woke up in the ICU room. There were 5 or 6 nurses in my room. One of them asked me how I felt. Fine, I said, I was sleeping. Why did you wake me up? He said, Mr. Positive Source, you weren't sleeping, you coded. I spent 5 minutes giving you chest compressions, SND we had to use the defibrillator. Later, when I related my dream to my wife, she said, you weren't asleep, you were unconscious. Unconscious people don't dream. So that's my story. 6 years ago and I remember it vividly. I attempted suicide like a year and a half. I still don't know if it was good or bad, but I survived. I put on my earphones and started listening to music while I was waiting to get unconscious for the lack of oxygen. So, I just thought, it is done, you can't change anything. It is finally over, at least I am enjoying my final seconds with good music. Then I woke up, I was on the floor, the belt I was using just broke and I fell off. I got shot through the neck by a sniper in Afghanistan. Genuinely thought my time was up. When I hit the floor I landed on my back. I couldn't stand up, which probably saved me from being finished off. I wasn't in pain. My thoughts were, the sky was really blue, and that I'd let my family down. After lying there forever, 2 of my mates ran out and dragged me into cover by my shoulders, put quick clot in my neck and got me into the back of an armored vehicle. I was being strangled on the floor, and fighting back was inefficient. I felt my limbs lose function, watched my arms fall to the floor and thought, oh, my arms aren't working. Couldn't move my legs. I knew what that meant but couldn't do anything about it. Then my head lolled to the side. I saw a piece of lint on the carpet, just a wee fluff of carpet lint, and thought, I'm going to die looking at this carpet, and no one will know what happened to me. My mom will be so disappointed. Felt sad more than scared. Vision went red and then black. Last thing I remember feeling was that sadness and his hands around my neck. Woke up on the same carpet, with the culprit watching me to find out if I was dead. Human traffickers are scum. I escaped soon after this incident, started studying martial arts and learned how to defend myself in a choking situation. And more importantly, learned how to avoid ever being in that kind of situation again. One time was an asthma attack that I had in the middle of the night while sleeping. Woke up, ran to kitchen, boiled some water with Vicks Vapor Rub in it. Struggling and starting to black out. My thoughts were how I was going to miss my grandfather and how much of a failure I was. Luckily I got air in me before I fell on stove. Prior to the realization I was about to die, it was more of a panic and flood of thoughts about what can I do to stop this. Addict in recovery here. I've done this song and dance a couple of times with ODs. The last one is the only one I really remember at all. Basically, it was about 1 million different variations of, I'm not ready, followed by, help. Then nothing for a while, Then, oh holy forking shirtballs, after they hit me with some adrenaline and the paddles at the got cleaned up shortly after that. We can celebrate 6 years in July partying face. I'm not doing that to her again. Not sure if you'd count this, but I was in a really rough patch and going through a severe depressive episode. I have horrible mood swings I should definitely see someone about. I was going to end it all. Then I thought about my mother who had to deal with her brother passing away due to suicide. I don't have the best relationship with my mom, but I couldn't do that to my grandma either. My ex beat me and then started strangling me while screaming, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." I lost consciousness, and before I did I remember thinking, I'm never going to see my family again. Where is he going to dump my body? Luckily I was able to regain consciousness long enough to fight him off and escape. The bastard didn't even go to jail because my state suspends jail sentences for most first-time offenders as long as they keep their noses clean. The US criminal justice system is a fucking joke. Almost drowned as a kid around 8 to 9. First thing I thought was, well, this sucks, I've never even kissed someone. Then when I stopped thrashing I found myself relaxing, giving into the water. Fuck, it was like going down for a nap. Anyways, my last thought was, if I die I hope I get a do-over. Lifeguard saved my life and I didn't go in water for like 3 years. Sometimes I try to simulate the same feeling I had back then, but it's too forced and my body forces me to save myself. 10 out of 10 wouldn't mind going out that way. I've never heard a straight answer if I was actually going to die or not, but I'll say it anyway. At 9 years old I had an open heart surgery, my second one ever, and about 2 to 3 days after it was over and I was in recovery something happened and the new valve kinked. There was a huge rush of doctors, nurses, cardiologists, you name it. They pulled my parents out of the room to talk to them and everything. My dad then came back in and has to look me in the eyes and say I wouldn't make it through the night. I was asked what I wanted to do for my last day. Not that it was much. I was hooked up to every machine possible, and what the last thing I wanted to eat was. I didn't really have any last thoughts at all. It was far too much for my 9-year-old brain to process. I just wanted to cry but couldn't because it hurt so bad. Thankfully, they made the call for emergency surgery, far too late in my opinion. That was traumatic, and I pulled through. I was really depressed, and this was when I was in my earlier teenage years, so I was still living with my parents. One night I got tired of it, and made a plan to go get one of the guns our family owned. I wrote my goodbye note, and sat there staring at it. The only reason I stopped was because this one stupid thought. If I shoot myself, I'll get blood all over the carpet and it'll be a hassle to clean and get rid of. Soon after this hesitation thought, a friend I used to have randomly texted me. It was like 3 a.m. and said he woke up and felt like something bad was going to happen to me and that I was in danger. The fact I hesitated because of blood on the carpet was probably the only reason I saw that message, and the only reason I'm still here. I'm in a much better place mentally and have gotten the help I need. Just kind of anticlimactic when I say, oh, I almost died, but I didn't want to stain ye carpet lol. Not my last thought, but my younger brother's. He rang me as they were about to intubate him with COVID. Double vaxxed, but just one of the unlucky ones who caught it extremely badly. He rang me at 2 a.m. from ICU to tell me, they're about to put me under and they tell me I might not wake up. Please look after my family if I die. His only concern was for them. We were lucky. 6 weeks on a ventilator in ICU and he survived. He's pretty weak 3 months on, but he's not dead. I hope I can be as brave when I'm facing death. A beautiful perfect day. I was the passenger in a 1981 Fatbody Firebird, cruising 50 miles per hour down the road. Posted speed limit, at a green light. A dump truck also had a green light. Because the left turn lane was packed, we never saw the truck till we were both in the intersection. Well shit. It went from a beautiful day with great music to, well shit. As my driver slammed on the brakes, tried to turn left to maybe avoid the inevitable, but our car slid under the dump truck. The car's windshield frame nearly cut off my right arm, slicing across my chest, pinning me into the car. I was completely rushed inside, the roof and everything in on me. Once they moved the truck, all they could see of me was my right arm. Both ways had a green light because the lights were being worked on with no caution to what it did to traffic. All they could see was my nearly severed arm and couldn't get a pulse from that, so they left me for dead. I felt my soul go through the truck and back on impact. There was never any pain, until after I came to and they realized I was alive from my screaming. Well shit. It's going to be hours before my wife decides to come looking for me and finds my dead body, is what I was thinking when I fell head first into the basement stairwell of the house we were building at the time. It was about 11 p.m. and very heavy rain was falling due to bands from a hurricane in the Gulf. My wife was asleep, so I decided to take a 5-minute trip to the new house to check for leaks and see if any water builds up in the basement. The only way into the basement was from the back of the house as there were no stairs inside yet. The patio didn't yet have a slab, so I was walking on the short concrete wall so I could hop over to the stairwell wall to get to the basement. I only need to make a 3-foot jump to get there, so I go for it. I made what I thought was the perfect jump and landing, but then it happened. The top was covered with mud and my foot slipped and my leg started sinking into the mud. At the same time, I'm losing my balance toward the stairwell opening. From the top of the wall to the basement floor is 10 feet. I feel intense pain on my shin and I'm sure it's going to break, but instead, the mud gives way and I go over head first. It was like slow motion. It felt like 10 seconds to complete the fall. As I'm falling upside down, I managed to catch the top of the wall with the fingers on my right hand, which helped basically stopped me just long enough that it was really only about a 3-foot fall from my head to the ground. Still, I'm 6'5" tall and was about 265 pounds at the time, so I'm thinking the worst. My fingers slip and I fall the rest of the way. Somehow, my head didn't hit anything. The back of my upper arm was scratched up a bit but didn't hurt much. The skin at the top of the pelvis where the love handle is was scraped up good, as was my shin from scraping on the wall. The most painful injury, however, was to the tips of the palm side of my fingers from grabbing then scraping on the sharp edge of the top of the wall. I wasn't going to mention anything to my wife, but the bloody scratch on my leg, arm, side and fingers gave it away. She was very unhappy with me. I was also struck by lightning when I was 16, but I'll tell that story another time.